awesome players around him.
Mm-hmm.
Dwayne has average guys around him.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious. Look, we're on camera. All I did was sign out of StreamYard and sign back in. So now we are live.
Try that in the beginning.
Well, because
everybody does that in the beginning.
That's a StreamYard issue.
Everybody does that in the beginning.
I rebooted the computer. I rebooted the camera. I did all that. I just didn't sign out and sign back in. So now we're live, and you missed a ton of great analysis and lots of.
You weren't even
witty.
You have lots
of witty.
You have no idea what I said because you're fiddling around,
trying to do three
being
things
an engineer, and your leg is shaking, and you're all upset.
I got the Jimmy leg. Yes, I do. So they got rid of Adrian Peterson, the Washington football team. Is it Darius Geis or is he hurt?
Oh, they cut
Who's
him.
their running back? Like, what kind of running back do they have? While I adjust the camera angle on the stream.
Peyton Barber. I've already went over the running backs.
No, you have not.
I have.
No, you have not.
Did I just say Antonio Gibson from Memphis? You guys didn't hear that, or is that just me talking to myself, or what? I mean,
all right.
Do you want to
Maybe
hit the
you
restart
did.
button?
What? Maybe you did.
So I don't know what you're doing over here, man.
I'm adjusting the camera angle.
One-man band.
That's what I'm doing. Yes, it is a one-man band. Is this news to
Always
you?
suitable
That
for
we're a
state
one-man band?
champion.
Yes. All right. Very good.
Very good, sir.
Okay. So what else do I have here?
I don't know.
On the Browns and the Redskins.
I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, you're
not
what
optimistic like the Browns.
I'm not convinced that the Browns have an accurate view of what Baker Mayfield is best at. I think they got enamored with some of his success as a rookie, which teams in the NFL adjust to. And I think now teams are taking some of that away. And I don't necessarily think they fully adjusted to it. I think they still view him as a transformative, eventual Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers type quarterback who everything flows off him. And I think that's silly given the talent around him. And I think he's better when his stat line is what it was against the Bengals, 16 of 23, 219, with lots of running by Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. That's what I build the team around. I wouldn't build the team around Baker Mayfield throwing the ball 30 times. I wouldn't do that.
That's what Kevin Stefanski's doing. That's what he wants to do.
Then I'm all in.
He was calling plays for Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
They won a football game last year, the opening week 1 against the Atlanta Falcons. They ran the ball 52 times and threw it 7.
See, I think Kevin Stefanski should view Baker Mayfield as Kirk Cousins.
I think he does.
He should not view him as a top 10 quarterback in the league. I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback in the league.
Kevin Stefanski views...
I don't think he's a top 15. No, he's not a top 15 quarterback in the league yet. He can be. He can be.
I think Kevin Stefanski views Baker Mayfield. He doesn't look at it as a guy that, okay, my offensive philosophy is to put it on my quarterback's shoulders and tell him to go win. There's only a few guys in this league that you can do that with, right? You can do that with Russell Wilson.
Yep.
You can do that with Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
And you can do that with, I don't know, maybe
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers.
You can't do it. I don't know that you can do it with Drew Brees at this stage of his career. You could at one time. You can't do it with Tom Brady anymore.
You can do that with Kyler Murray, actually, now.
Yeah, you can with Kyler Murray.
Absolutely.
Russell Wilson, you can.
I said, yep, and Russell. So I think, Kevin's thing is we're running the ball. I mean, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And they have the pieces to do that. So you don't need Baker to throw it 35 times a game. Interesting stat. Since 1948, now I get the game has changed. If an NFL team runs the ball 35 times in a ball game, they win it. They win the game 88% of the time.
Typically because you're running, you're ahead. You're trying to shorten the game. So that may be somewhat influenced by the fact that the reason you're running it that many times is because you have the lead. Like the Redskins, they won in week 1 against the Eagles coming back from 17-0. I guarantee you they didn't run it 30 times because when you fall behind, you can't run it a lot.
Well, conversely, the Eagles didn't run it 30 times, which they probably should have.
They probably should have.
There you go. In hindsight, which is easy, we all know. But I'm just but the philosophy of running the ball and running the play action and the things to set up the bootlegs, all that stuff is the same thing that Sean McVay does with the Rams. who, coincidentally enough, the last 2 ball games have run it a total of 76 times.
Yeah,
76.
Wow, that's a lot. That's why they're 2-0. I think you can throw a blanket over a fair amount of quarterbacks in the NFL. And since he's not yet out of the league, but he's a backup now, we'll call it the Andy Dalton alumni class. Dak Prescott, Jared Goff.
Although Dak was amazing on Sunday.
Well, he was, but that's
Okay,
you're not going to live with that every week.
You're not going to, but
you know what he was?
Just acknowledge that he was amazing on Sunday.
You know what he was? He was J.T. Barrett in the fourth quarter against Penn State. And then the next week against Iowa, he was J.T. Barrett again.
By the way,
more normal
Jackson.
J.T. Barrett. Yeah, I'm not putting Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's in a category of his own right now. He's in a category of his own. Nobody's figured him out yet. They might not. I can't. First of all, I don't have Sunday ticket, so I can't watch the Ravens every week. And I can't make a broad assessment of Lamar Jackson off his game against the Browns because the Browns defense is not representative of a decent NFL defense, particularly when it didn't have Greedy Williams and Mac Wilson.
You got like Lamar Jackson's getting better and better.
He's getting better. He's getting better. Yeah, it is scary.
Out of all
he's
the quarterbacks,
one hit, brother. He is one hit away.
You want Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, or Lamar Jackson, or Mahomes?
Or Mahomes right now, sure.
Yeah, which one would you take?
I'd take Mahomes all day long and twice on Sunday.
Yeah.
I'd take him on Sunday night football and Sunday afternoon football if I could get him. You take Lamar Jackson.
No, actually, I would take Kyler Murray.
Really? Ooh, I thought you'd take Russell. I'd be happy with any of them. I'd be happy with Russell Wilson.
These guys are so good, Bruce.
Yeah, Kyler Murray's not Russell Wilson yet. He's 2-0. Let's pump the brakes a tad.
Okay, all right.
He's good though.
I'm just, of course, the product still has to be finished, and you have to do it over a period of time. But he is certainly trending upward. I hope you would agree with me.
He is definitely trending upward. It's just that he doesn't have a Super Bowl on his resume.
I'm just looking at Lamar's stat line from last week.
Well, who they even have last week? I try to
the Texans
purge them from. Well, there again. Let's again.
For,
any Bill O'Brien coach team is suspect.
Okay, Lamar Jackson, 18-20. This is Baker Mayfield numbers you would like, right? Yeah. And Baker can run the ball a little bit too, by the way. Lamar, 18 for 24, 204, 1 touchdown.
That's perfect.
0 interceptions.
How many rushing yards?
16 carries for 54 yards.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good.
That's production out of
definitely production.
And it's such a pain in the rear end to play.
Big time.
Yeah. I call them throwers that can run because if you're an NFL quarterback, you're a thrower that can run.
Yes.
In college, some of these guys might have been runners that can throw. These guys are throwers first, and they can run. All of them, including Lamar Jackson.
A really bad day for injuries in the NFL on Sunday, and it didn't get any better when they were further assessed, particularly as it concerns 2 former Buckeyes. Speaking of injuries, AUIinfo.com. They're not the injury specialists, they're the health insurance specialists. I'm sure Nick Bosa and Malik Hooker have ample health insurance provisions in their contracts, but if you are an employer and you want to line up your employees with the best health insurance, but you don't have the patience or the expertise to get online and look around or hang on hold and listen to that infernal music, go with AUIinfo.com. Let Chrissy tell you what she knows about the best plans, the best hospitals, the best doctors, the best networks, the best deal for your business. AUIinfo.com is in business to help your business. If you're an individual, AUIinfo can help you also navigate through all those healthcare.gov websites and hurdles and impediments out there. You're already paying for a health insurance consultant. When you get health insurance from anyone, it's baked into the cake. So why not let Chrissy be that health insurance expert for you and let the health insurance companies pay her because they get compensated. Nice. They compensate AUIinfo rather than you paying for their service. So it's a win-win. AUIinfo.com, AUIinfo.com. Malik Hooker, torn Achilles out for the season.
That's a bummer.
Nick Bosa, torn ACL out
that's
for the season.
That's his second ACL, is it not? Didn't he have one coming out of high school?
Yes, and also
correctly.
With the Niners, Solomon Thomas, 2 D linemen, 2 top 3 picks in the same game. I don't know if that's ever happened.
Well, I think they're doing an investigation at MetLife Stadium.
On the turf.
Yeah.
I
think that's
and the Niners have to.
Barkley also.
The Niners have to be thrilled to be going back to MetLife Stadium this week to play the Giants.
Yeah. No kidding. Huh?
I mean, they stayed at the Greenbrier this
Right.
week, which that's good. That's how you roll. You're a Greenbrier
I've never
veteran.
been to the Greenbrier.
You have to.
No,
You
I've
told
never-
me once you were at the
I've
Greenbrier.
been to other places
Oh, I
like the
thought you were at the
Greenbrier. I've never
Greenbrier.
been to the Greenbrier.
I thought you were shooting trap with Bubba Watson and Phil Mickelson at the
No,
Greenbrier.
no. Hey, let me ask you this: do you think the lack of OTAs, lack of preseason, is an issue for injuries? I don't. I'm putting it out there. I just think it's bad luck how that happens.
An NFL personnel person this week, but not Rick Spielman, told me that yes, he does believe. But I said, is it lack of hitting? He said no. Hitting plays no role in it,
Yeah.
but it's the arduous nature of training camp, whether it's 7-on-7 or whatever, that gets the soft tissue ready for the kind of duress that it encounters in an NFL game. He believes lack of preseason plays into
But the
the
players don't play in preseason.
plethora of injuries that we saw.
Players don't play in preseason.
Well, you can take it up with him.
I would like to take it up with him. That'd
I'm
be an
sure
interesting
you may
conversation.
run into him at some point in your travels. You know who I'm talking about. Don't give it away.
Yeah. All right. I'm not going to give it away. I just don't know where he is now. You have to tell me where he is.
I will tell you.
I
where
want
he
to
is.
talk to him.
All right. Very good.
Very good,
I'll
sir.
give you his number. Here's a ridiculous thing the
Okay.
NFL's doing.
Finding the guys with
Kyle Shanahan, Pete Carroll, Vic Fangio, and I'm absolutely certain John Gruden and Sean Payton will be on this list today, if not tomorrow. Will be fined $100,000 and their teams $250,000 for incorrectly wearing their masks on the side.
or not wearing one.
Or not wearing one at all, as Chucky Gruden had his like on, but under his chin most of the night
Yeah.
on Monday Night Football. By the way, that stadium is pretty spectacular.
All of them. The new stadiums are all.
Is that a retractable dome?
I have not been there.
Because
so I'm assuming it is.
I'm looking at the players in that game, and they appeared to have lots and lots of grass stains on their uniforms, or it was paint.
I'm sure, and it's.
I'm sure it's grass stains, and the field looked. You look at it, and I'm like, that's got to be turf. It looked perfect.
Yeah.
But wow. I don't know how you grow grass in Vegas in a dome stadium unless it's a retractable dome.
I don't know.
And I don't know when you'd ever not want the dome closed in Vegas. It's like the surface of the sun out there.
So I don't know.
Of course, the Cardinals have a retractable dome, and
Yeah.
it's hotter than hot there.
The Vikings. So
Vikings is retractable.
yeah, but the roof can open.
Well, that's good. That makes sense for where
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah. Look,
What's the nicest stadium you've been in?
the Vikings right now.
With the caveat, you've not been to SoFi in California and not been to the Vegas
the
stadium.
Vikings one right now, then
Yeah.
I'm sure that when I go to these other places, that will top that. But
It will not change based on your
On the
trip to
mask.
lovely First Energy Stadium Sunday. That will not change.
I love that stadium.
Sure you do.
You're
You're an alumni.
on the mask thing.
Yeah.
It's the rule. Okay,
I get
it
it.
makes zero sense.
Thank you.
Since these guys are so watched. I mean, just the trackers or the bracelets, like an alarm will go off on their bracelet if they're talking to somebody too long.
Yeah, Chris mentioned on Monday that
And I
the
think it's amazing.
team personnel, PR guys, everybody,
Everybody
wear a bracelet. And if they're stationary,
too long.
talking to Chris, talking to Kevin Kugler, Laura Oakman, whoever's on your crew, standing there too long, the thought is what, 5 minutes or 15 minutes?
I think the alarm goes off at 10 minutes.
10 minutes. So it's like, hey, you've been around this person
Gotta
too
go.
long. They might be putting
Right.
dangerous aerosol droplets out there. You better move.
Daily tested. Daily.
So did they move back?
Yeah.
5 feet,
Yeah.
6 feet, and then what if they step forward again? Does the thing recycle?
I think it starts to. I didn't
Okay.
ask him that, but I'm assuming that.
Did you go through your excruciating COVID test this week?
Yeah. Yeah, I went through it, sent it in, all cleared.
Okay, good.
Brain biopsy every week. Love it.
What?
Mental toughness test.
Brain biopsy. You're saying that's what it is when they stick that thing up your
That's
nose.
what it feels like.
Like going up to get a sample of the old prefrontal cortex,
Yes,
huh?
and so there's.
Got it up there far enough,
No,
Doc?
I just told him
Yeah.
there's not a lot left up there, so you
Careful. Don't take a few cells I might need.
All right. I've lost the number over the years, as I'm sure you can understand. I'm
Right.
sure people can attest to that. or fans of the We Tackle Life podcast.
I got to mark that 45 minutes. That's the open for Friday's podcast for sure. That's a funny line. That is a funny line.
Well, it won't be the biggest show on Friday either.
No, it won't.
'Cause I
Mr.
won't be-
Spielman will not be here. Maybe have to line up. Maybe Dustin Fox. We'll see if Dustin.
good.
See if I can
Yeah.
get Dustin on Friday now that the Browns don't play on Thursday.
But just to go back to that, I mean, it's the rule. I think they're trying to set a good example for everybody to wear a mask. We're having our guys
Yeah.
do it. You can do it. It just, at some point, and we were talking about this, at some point there's common sense that has to take place. For example,
Mhm.
at Fox, and there was conversation, right? Everybody at Fox, okay, we have to have the PCR test, but the PCR test isn't rapid. You can't get it back in 20 minutes.
right.
But you can get it starts with an A. I forget the name of it, but that's the one where you stick it up your nose really far.
The Arnold Horshack test, or the
You can get it back
up your nose with a rubber
in
hose.
25 minutes. And so we just had a conversation. I said, okay, what's the difference in the test? And, if it makes more sense for us, for example, to get a test at home. It's just a conversation of how we can do things, right? That if we can get a test at home, then if we happen to test positive,
Mhm.
you don't have to get a guy in there on Sunday morning to call the game. You can plan ahead, so it makes sense for everybody.
Sure.
So now they've come to the conclusion that yes, you can do the rapid test as opposed to the test that takes. And where I go, it would take 48 hours to get the test results back. With the rapid test, where I go, it takes 20 minutes. I sit in a room and wait for the doc to come in and say, "All right, see you next week." And so we work together. It's just common sense. So there's got to be some type of common sense, in my opinion,
Mhm.
with this mask thing for these coaches and players on the field. But the NFL is not screwing around. They did send a warning week 1, to be fair.
Yeah.
Troy Vincent sent out a memo. Troy Vincent works with the league, former really good player. And
Wisconsin Badger.
Troy, it was clear: wear the mask or you're going to get
I'll
popped.
get fined. Yeah.
And so those guys, I think, they're defiant, and then they probably didn't have to be, but they were, and that's just the way it is.
Yep. Wonder how many of them are going the Gary Patterson route. Back in the days of the BCS, Gary Patterson took his TCU Horned Frogs to the Fiesta Bowl, and he was required to bring certain starting players to a press conference. And he was advised of this by the PR director from the Fiesta Bowl. Hey, tomorrow, you got to bring your starting quarterback, your starting running back, your starting wide receiver. And Gary Patterson looked at him and he goes, "What's the fine?"
Yeah.
And the guy said, $10,000. And he goes, "Oh, we'll pay that."
Okay.
Like, that's what I thought Monday night when I'm watching Gruden, and he's
Wow.
got the mask on, but under his chin. I'm thinking, Gruden's like going, "Oh, 350,000? Okay, we'll pay that."
$10 million a year, so I think
Small change. Small change for
And the league
Mr.
gets
Gruden.
250. The teams get 250. But I mean, that's a pretty hefty fine.
That is a fine.
Look, I wouldn't like it if I were a coach, but once again, if I want to be consistent, I don't get to pick and choose what
Yeah.
rules I
No,
follow.
you don't.
If I work for somebody and I work for the league and they ask me, "Hey, if you're going to work for us, this is what we're asking you to do,"
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Just like with Fox. I don't want to get tested every week. If I didn't work for Fox, I would not be getting COVID tested. I would not.
No.
There's no reason for me to get tested.
Exactly.
So
Nor would my daughter is playing soccer. She had a game tonight, which I'll be incognito. I'll have my ball cap on and my gaiter pulled up because I wear the gaiter because it's like a little bit more breathable.
yeah, I don't.
So I bring the gaiter is a little bit too big for me. A large is too big, a medium is too small. So I wear the large and I bring the gaiter up behind my ball cap and then up around my nose. So all you see are my eyes. It looks like I'm ready to
You
rob
look like
someone.
Deadpool.
I do.
You know who
So,
Deadpool is?
I don't, but I know it's a Spielman
It's a movie.
arcane movie reference, like White Line Fever and the E4s
Jan Michael
and
Vincent.
all the other things you used to talk
Who,
about.
who doesn't remember Jan Michael Vincent?
No, only people that have no respect for cinematic greatness. All right.
Very good.
Thank you. Yes. Thanks to Nick and to DRR Jr., who say that the Vegas field is like the Arizona Cardinals field. It
Okay.
slides out of the stadium.
There you go. Now
Wow.
you have answers.
A retractable field.
Nick is dialed in every show. Thanks,
Yes,
Nick.
he is, Nick. We appreciate that very,
Yeah.
very much. Okay, to the Bengals, I promised. One touchdown underdogs against the Eagles at Philly. You saw Philly. Joe Burrow has been hit 22 times in 2 weeks. Not good. Not a good way to survive in the NFL. They can't win if he's throwing 61 times. They got too good. They got too good of running backs for that, but they've got too bad an offensive line. Oh, the right side of their offensive line is dreadful. And I hate to say this, but I just had to think watching them Thursday night. While the right side of their offensive line was it was comically bad. I mean, Troy Aikman was just, he was truthful but brutal in his assessment of the right side of the Bengals offensive line. And
I have the Bengals in 2 or 3
and
weeks.
There's
so.
Billy Price is standing over there on the sidelines, which astounds me. I thought Billy was such a great pick by the Bengals. What happens to an offensive lineman that what are they not able to do? I can't believe it's the physical part of the game. What is there is it the mental part of the game, or what do you think it is that holds back?
I don't know. I'm not going to make an evaluation.
Yeah, I mean generally. I don't mean specifically with Billy.
It's a big jump for people. I mean, he's good enough to be on the team, right? I think one of the places of value that Billy has is that he can play guard or he can play center. So he's versatile. So he's obviously an important member of the team. I can't answer the question of why he's not playing because I don't have the ability to watch them practice and evaluate and watch them throughout the game. I don't know why he's struggling. I don't know if it's in his head or if it's physical. I just don't know.
Yeah, that's an aspect. Confidence could be a big part of
it. I think a little bit of that might be some confidence, but
you know what I would say to him is there's hope because Cameron Irving, when he was a first-round pick of the Browns, came out and was dreadful.
There's a lot of guys that take a little time.
And he's got a Super Bowl ring now. He started for the Chiefs.
I talked to TJ Lang. I don't know if you know who TJ Lang is. A guard. He's a guard for the Packers. Played guard with the Lions. Really good player. And I asked him about the development of offensive line. Some guys get it, some guys don't. It's probably a 2 or 3 year thing if you're not like the guy. What's the kid? Quentin Nelson, kid from
Quentin Nelson from Notre Dame, Colts guard, or Jedrick Wills is off to a good start.
All these
looks
guys.
like Jonah Wilson's doing fine for the Bengals at left tackle.
Is it Jonah Wilson or Jonah Williams?
Jonah Williams. I'm sorry. Jonah Williams.
So very good, sir.
Thank you. We'll mark that down for the open.
Let's mark some of yours.
Be your favorite one.
So, but again, guard and center are two different. Like tackle is just a whole different world. It's an entity unto itself. Guard and center take some time. Tackle, it's either you get it or you don't, or you're athletic enough or long enough.
Sometimes tackle. Robert Gallery, didn't he move inside the guard? Yeah, couldn't play tackle.
Yeah, and Tony Mandarich was another one that played tackle at Michigan State, but ended up being a decent NFL guard. The other, Jason Peters, 19 years in the league for the Eagles, right? Well, Jason spent all training camp at right guard. He was changing positions. Then they had some injuries. They moved him back to left tackle. The position is so different that they tore up his contract that he had at guard and started paying him
because he was underpaid.
Yes, at guard.
Wow.
And they moved him back to left tackle.
That's a good organization to do that.
Yeah, it was. It's very good of them. And he struggled against Chase Young and the Redskins. But last week, I thought he played really well. And
the man's 20 years older than Chase Young. Of course he struggled.
9 years old.
I know.
Playing tackle in the National Football League, which is
that's a freak athlete.
It's an amazing story. And he played really well last week. But at the first week, he was awful at tackle. But again, so it takes time. And here's my theory. And I've been trying to get this on the air. I've yet to get it on. I might get it on now. I've got a new definition of position groups. No longer are receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, DBs considered skill positions. They're considered athletic positions. Okay. Offensive and defensive line are skill positions because it involves technique and skill to master that technique to be good at that position. So that's a skilled position. Offensive line, defensive line, because of the technique that's involved. Because if your technique is bad, you have no chance to survive.
I'll go for that.
And like you can survive being a running back that's a great athlete, or a wide receiver that's a great athlete, or a defensive back that's a great athlete. Your technique does not have to be on 100% of the time because you can make up with great athletic ability. That is not the case as an offensive lineman or defensive lineman where technique is vital. But I'm going to see the Bengals here in a couple of weeks. Hopefully they'll improve their defense. Their run defense is awful. It's just awful.
I was going to ask you.
I haven't
Browns.
watched it enough,
The Browns
but
went for 215, but they have a really good line, and they have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. You've seen the Eagles, given the Bengals, vulnerability to the run, knowing what you know about the Eagles' offensive line and backs. Is this going to be a problem?
Could be.
The same kind of problem.
I think it could be the same kind of problem because the Eagles are struggling offensively. They ran the ball because better against the Rams than they did against the Redskins because they got back an all-pro offensive lineman by the name of Lane Johnson. The other guy,
he's from Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah.
They have Kelsey at center, who's an all-pro. Then Jason Peters, who is better. They lost their starting left guard, so they'll have to move another guy up there. But then Miles Sanders, of course, from Penn State, who's a really good back, was back last week. So I do think when I look at the Bengals, if I'm playing the Bengals, number one thing, I'm going into that meeting and saying, we're going to run it. And they can't stop us. They haven't stopped anybody.
That's what everybody tries to do when they're turning it over a lot is establish the run.
And it puts pressure on the offense.
Opens things up for Carson Wentz, yeah.
And I think Joe, what did you think of Joe the other night?
I thought he was great. I thought he was the best quarterback on the field, and I think he's going to be phenomenal if he stays alive.
Okay.
And they just can't get him hit 22
in
times.
week 3. Now, not going into the future. Just week 3 for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Who do you want as your quarterback coming in this game against the Washington football team? Do you want Baker Mayfield or Joe Burrow?
I want Joe Burrow.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think the Browns would.
I think you're done on Baker.
If Mike Brown called and offered Joe Burrow for Baker Mayfield, money's even and all that kind of stuff, I think the Browns would make that trade in a heartbeat. I think if the Browns called the Bengals and offered Baker Mayfield for Joe Burrow, the Bengals would laugh and hang up the phone.
No, I get it. I'm just curious on week 3. You take it without looking into the future. I thought Joe looked really good. I really like his. And I made a comment.
I like Joe's focus on football and winning.
Yeah. Well, I think
I think Baker is too distracted and Baker's too chip on the shoulder guy.
I think he's better though. That was a comment.
Hopefully,
did you think he was better Thursday? I thought he was a lot better.
Yeah,
I was watching him.
He was. The interception bothered me, man. The interception was the only way the Bengals were going to win the game. The Browns were going to have to turn the ball over, and he did. And he has the NFL's longest streak of consecutive games with an interception at 8.
Stay hot, Baker.
Don't throw it to the other team, please.
That's good. I'm going to put that on my sheet. I have not come across that stat.
There you go.
Thank you.
Now that I did that for you, would you give me the number of somebody at Fox on the production side so I can call and request that when you go to the Browns facility on Friday, that they do a search for the Spielman Rock? Because I've not been up there in a year or two, and I want to know if the Spielman Rock is still there. Okay. You know what I mean by the Spielman Rock?
I've heard of it.
Yes, you've heard of the Spielman Rock.
I don't think
you're being modest, but the Spielman Rock.
All right, whatever. No, I don't.
I want them
First of all,
when the game gets out of hand Sunday and the Browns are winning handily, that'll be a good little 30-second filler.
I'll mention it to him.
Okay, good for you. Thank you.
I hate doing that.
I know you do. That's why I thought I'd do it, because I knew you wouldn't do it.
I thought you would. I got a little bit of bone to pick with you.
Okay. Well, hold on. Before you do,
before the face,
I'm going to call my. Before you do, I'm going to call my friend Stan Willis. Yes. Willis Spangler Starling, so that I don't say anything that will incriminate me later. Willis Spangler Starling is the law firm of choice when you want integrity and you want expertise across a broad spectrum of legal issues. They can handle workers' comp, personal injury, wills, estate planning, all the things that come up in the course of life. You want your legal rights protected. You want great attorneys of the utmost integrity and character. You want Willis Spangler Starling. Online, willisattorneys.com. Go to their blog at willisattorneys.com. You find out a lot of good things to know. It's a lot of times beneficial to know what your legal rights are in advance of a situation coming up. For instance, you know what I hear on radio talk show hosts a lot now? Radio talk shows a lot now? Did I say radio talk?
You said radio talk show hosts.
Yes. No, I don't listen to those radio shows.
Okay.
Radio talk shows lately
It's a rough morning for you,
is
Bruce.
this question about what are your legal rights with people who steal your political yard signs? Isn't that odd that people like, okay, so here's the
Is that
logic
going to
behind
make
it.
a difference?
Here's the logic behind it. You are such a supporter of a particular political candidate that you put a yard sign in your yard, and somebody sees that and they take it. Is
I don't
the
understand.
logic that, oh, if they don't have the yard sign, they won't vote for that guy? Or, oh, if I take the yard sign, nobody will know that guy's running for president.
It's almost
What
like
are you doing, people?
everybody just got tested 20 minutes ago. Everybody's free and clear of COVID, but
Yeah.
wear a mask.
So I heard Ken Brew on WLW did this topic, and the question was, can you electrify your yard sign, or are you then in legal jeopardy for hurting someone who trespasses and steals
Oh, that's a
something
good
off your
question.
property? Which, you know how our society works. McDonald's is guilty for coffee too hot.
Right.
So if some guy comes in your yard to steal your Biden sign or your Trump sign, and you hook up some like jungle trap apparatus where you hoist him up in a tree by his
I like it.
leg, and he's hanging in a tree overnight, are you in legal jeopardy or not? So
I bet you are.
if you want to know the answer to that,
I bet
Willis
you are.
Spangler Starling. Yeah, you. So
Unless
the
you
answer.
say- unless you put a warning up.
The
this sign-
answer, yeah, that's true. You're right. The answer on the electrifying of the sign was you're okay if you do like a livestock fencer, which just gives them a shock. You hook up 220 and you fry them like, you know, a potato, then you got a problem. You're not allowed to fry someone for stealing your yard sign. So there you go. Now, what do you want to take issue with me on before you ask for forgiveness?
That's not a good way to start a conversation, is it?
Well, we have forgiveness for everything, so
Yeah.
we covered.
I think that I do a good job of when, good stuff happens to you. I'm the first one to call you. I'm happy for you.
Oh man,
You're a state champion.
yeah, you're happy.
Two-time state
Yeah,
champion.
Katie has a good game.
Katie,
You're happy.
I'm voting for Katie for
Yeah.
scholar at whatever scholar
Max
athlete.
Preps, Ohio
Max
Athlete
Preps,
of the Week.
Ohio athlete.
Yeah.
I try to be a good supporter of the Hooley family. Am I not?
Yeah, very much so. Absolutely, without question.
Okay.
You got nominated for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I didn't say anything about it. Because other times when you've been nominated, you always poo-poo it. You go, I got no chance. It's no big deal. What's a big
I
deal?
know. But
But I
I'm not
should have.
asking. I'm
You're
not
right. I should have.
No,
I should have mentioned
no,
it.
No, I don't want it now. I don't want it now.
This is your passive.
I tried to make
way
a phone call to you 12 years ago.
of making yes, I know, of making sure you get it in the podcast and humbly acting like you don't want it in the podcast.
No, I don't want it from you.
No.
No.
Well played. So I saw the Lions nominated you. I really thought,
If the
honestly,
Lions don't nominate you.
I honestly thought you'd be upset if I brought it up because I thought
No.
about bringing it up.
No.
But the Lions congratulated you.
Yeah.
I ran a picture of
Yeah, it
you
was
on
cool.
Twitter. Yeah.
That's cool. It's nice.
Look, man,
The
that's
people-
and
the
I've
people-
always told you every
people
single
that I care
time.
about, actually.
Yeah, the people that really care about you mentioned it, unlike me, worrying more about my
Very good,
dog's
sir. Yeah,
IBS
yeah,
than
very
putting.
good, sir.
But
And
but
I
no,
thought it was, you didn't mention it because you're still upset that I ran through your garage door and I owe you $1,600.
no, I got a brand new garage door out of it. It's a little inconvenient not being able to open my garage door for 6 weeks, but we're getting through it. No, man, that's in all seriousness. You always have downplayed it, but to have played in the league to the point where you get nominated is really something. So congrats.
Thank
I
you.
mean that. I mean
No,
that.
I was doing that.
I wish.
You know how I
I
feel
know.
about that, but I do that just because I love to.
Look, man, it would be so great if someday you get
Yeah, it
on
ain't
the
gonna happen.
steps of
But
Canton
yeah.
in the shadow of your hometown.
that would be cool. It
Oh
would be.
my goodness.
But it,
I'd cry.
yeah,
I'd cry.
it's really cool just to get that close.
Yeah.
So just to be, I mean, people have asked me about it, so I thought I would put it out
Yeah.
here. Just and I'm not qualified to be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion.
If
But
you'd never gotten hurt,
I think I'm qualified. Maybe
you're qualified as a nominee. No
I think
doubt.
I'm qualified as a nominee.
Yeah,
I don't
definitely.
think I'm qualified to get in, but I just think it, you know, for some reason this year, and this has happened a couple times in the past, but for some reason this year, it hit me more. And I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or, but I just had these flashbacks of, it's in our book, by the way,
Mhm.
um, about when I was a kid and how Vince Popo, who was taught and was a wrestling coach in the school system with my father, was running the film room at the Hall of Fame. And we used to go, my brother and I used to go in there and watch these old NFL films, and Vince would let us in the back door. And then I thought it was funny that, like, the coolest thing was that for Christmas, my brother and I would get each other our Christmas gifts for each other, and my mom would take us to the Hall of Fame gift shop.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Just these, and when I would walk in there, and I don't know if anybody out there that when they were a kid, if you have these special memories or memories that are so clear. And every time I walked into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I felt like this is the best place on earth. I really felt like that. And I have these clear memories of, as a kid, of actually remembering what the aisles in the gift shop look like, and just walking up and down these aisles. And the cool thing is, and this is, I used to think, I wonder if I'll play for that team. Maybe I'll play for, and this is at like 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah.
I can play for that team. Maybe I'll play for that team. But I know that Rick likes, and back then in the day, it was Rick's favorite team for whatever reason was the Washington Redskins. Back in the day, it was called the Redskins, and they had all the gear, and
they have everything for every team in that gift.
And it was so cool because I was able to get him. I saved up all the money I could, and I was able to get him like a Letterman's jacket. Remember, with the leather sleeves and the wool? I got him a Redskins Letterman's jacket for Christmas. And unbeknownst to me, he also got me the Vikings Letterman's jacket. And I was so bummed when I grew out of it, because I wore it like in the summer. I wore it all the time because the Vikings were my favorite team growing up. It got so worn, Bruce, that it wasn't really leather on the sleeves, but it was like plastic.
Yeah,
I guess.
Probably.
It cracked, and so I don't know. The only reason I bring it up is because I think it can tie into the face segment in a couple ways. It can tie into the face segment that when I would walk into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, just because of my upbringing, my background, my mentality, my mindset, that when I walked in there, I felt like it was paradise, nirvana, whatever, utopia, whatever you want to use, and that it was the best place on earth, and I never felt more at home. That I could have actually lived in that Hall of Fame, and I could have went and watched the movies. I could have walked around. I would have put a bedroom by the gift shop, and it'd be just like looking around and say, "Oh my gosh, I could have that. I could have that. I could play for that team." So it was where everything was right. So the question comes up about everybody and how you feel about dying. And so I thought to myself, take that feeling that I had as a young child, times that by an infinite number, and that is the peace and the feelings that you're going to have way beyond what we can comprehend, as St. Paul testifies to, of the feeling of being home, where in the promise of Jesus, I go to prepare a place for you. And so that was my whole point of bringing that up, obviously to give you a little bit of a hard time, but also to more importantly understand that, and you had a great line, I actually used it in interviews, that we don't white knuckle death. We're not, oh my gosh, what if I die? And we don't live our life every day worrying about what's next. And that gives me such a peace. And I can only imagine what's next. And then isn't it crazy that I compared it times an infinite number, whatever that is, in just my life, that what I felt like as a 6 or 7 year old, and I still feel that strong feeling today, and I remember it clear as day, of when I sat and walked through the Pro Football Hall of Fame and just felt at home. So that's my little face segment today, and
That's
it's
well said.
nothing, no scriptures or anything like that. I'm just a little bit, but kind of more of don't be afraid of what's after this life. It's better than you can imagine. And think of where you felt the most peace in your life, or where you just felt like this is where I belong.
Well, if you've settled your eternal situation.
Well, that's
yeah,
yes.
obviously.
Yeah.
You and I have in common many things. One thing we have in common is that we both lost people very, very dear to us in the fall. We're coming through a season, which will be the time of year you lost your dad, you lost Steph, I lost my mom, I lost my dad. And what you said about that peace and that security applied to all four of them, and applied to each of us as we worked through the feelings of separating from them in this life. While we were sad, we were also encouraged and absolutely certain that we would see them again,
Right.
and where their eternal home is. And it gives me great comfort to know that, and to know it as it pertains to myself, to my kids, to my wife. And you have that same feeling of your wife and your children. And just encourage you that if you have uncertainty, doubt, concern about your eternal future, there is a way to settle that and to gain that peace.
Yeah, and I think for those that have lost somebody, we had a emailer on Monday that lost his father,
Brock.
and Brock or
No,
Bearden.
Bearden. Yeah, I got another email from Brock.
And,
Bearden, yes, Bearden.
And I hope Bearden has that peace. Yeah, there is tremendous loss and sadness and heartache, but there's also underlying all that, and it gets stronger as time goes on, is this inner peace that you're almost envious. Does that make any sense?
It makes sense, yeah. It does.
You're almost envious,
yeah,
of where they are, and not just in the moment, but for eternity.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Absolutely. So thank you all for listening and putting up with our my issues.
Yes,
getting a live stream. My issues, my failure.
Yes.
I will claim it. I will own it. Chris will be on the Browns and the Redskins on Sunday, so that'll be great. I'll get to watch, get to listen to you and Kevin work with Laura.
Yep, 4 more COVID winners on Friday.
4 more COVID winners. Yep, don't forget SpielmanCBD.com. Great pain
I put on my neck this
options.
morning, man. I woke up with a headache and I rubbed it on there. 5 minutes gone.
Now you'll need more after dealing with me for an hour and 10 minutes. You may exhaust that entire roll-on.
Yes.
All right, everybody have a great week, and we will talk to you again on Friday here on the We Tackle Life podcast. All right, let me end the live stream.